Hey guys, Dougie here, and I'm gonna go over the lore of all of my chapters for Douglarian Therapy. So chapter one is basically about the yellow decks and a little bit about the red decks. So it starts off in the year, let's say 2025. It's World War III. We're at war with Korea and a bunch of other countries. Details aren't that important. And basically Donald Trump is looking for a way to kill Kim Jong-un. He finds out that there's a hermit, Dr. Douglas, living in the slums of New York, and he created a super serum to make superhumans, super soldiers, whatever you want to call them. So Donald Trump seeks out Dr. Douglas, finds him, says, "Hey, I want you to create some soldiers for me." Dr. Douglas says no because of the way that it affects humans and people with mental illness and substance abuse. Donald Trump does not listen to Dr. Douglas's advice and says that, "Hey, I'm the president, you need to get this done." So Dr. Douglas says, "Okay, I'll do it." So he gives the serum to Donald Trump's brother, who happens to have antisocial personality disorder, the serial killers. So he gives him the serum, and the president's brother, basically his body starts changing. A black flame starts surrounding him. He becomes engulfed with fire, black fire. He starts smiling. He becomes stronger. Muscles become bigger, and his eyes become black. And he becomes the first yellow deck, which is the antisocial yellow deck. So this is still just chapter one. This is part two of chapter one. Part three of chapter one, basically Donald Trump and the antisocial character card, they go out and they look for an army to kill Kim Jong-un, because antisocial, even though he's strong, he can't do it alone. So basically, antisocial goes out to the slums of the different rural areas and looks for the criminals. Now, these people aren't necessarily bad, but they're doing what they can to survive in an apocalyptic world. Murder, stealing, and a lot of unmentionable things. So the antisocial character, he goes up to the first criminal, looks at him. The criminal throws a punch at him. Antisocial grabs it and then touches the criminal's heart. The criminal's heart turns red hot, and the criminal starts becoming stronger. His muscles become bigger and bigger, and he becomes engulfed with red flame. This criminal becomes the first pyromaniac character. And basically, they're like hellhounds, part werewolf, part fire, uncontrollable urge to destroy, and just savages, I guess, the best way of describing them. So antisocial does that to one person and like a bunch of other people, and eventually he has an army of red decks where they're savages and they're just out to kill. He takes his army of red decks, goes and kills Kim Jong-un, and the war is over, and now there is not really peace, but at least conflict with other countries is over. Now there's a new conflict, and that's the end of chapter one. So chapter two, the war is over, but the problem is that there's a bunch of red savages all over the world. I mean, all over our country at least, wreaking havoc because they don't have an enemy to fight anymore. So they're just taking it out on innocents. The sage, Dr. Douglas, goes to Donald Trump and his antisocial brother, and he was like, "Hey, man, first of all, antisocial needs to get the fuck out of here, because when he's around, the red savages act even more crazier." So after some bickering between antisocial and the sage, antisocial realizes that he doesn't really care for people anyway, so he leaves. So the red decks become a little bit more passive, but they're still aggressive. So the sage goes to Donald Trump and says, "Hey, we need to do something about these red decks. What can we do?" Donald Trump doesn't really care. So the sage decides to take it upon himself. So the second part of chapter 2, the Sage goes out to the different military branches. He goes to the Marine Corps, and he goes to, let's just say the Marine Corps, right? He looks at all the soldiers and he says, I need to create an army to basically suppress the Red Decks because they're wreaking havoc, created by the Yellow Deck antisocial. Yellow Decks being the gods that create the other ones, and the Sage being the one who created the Yellow Decks. It's all full circle. So basically, long story short, the Sage Dr. Douglas touches the heart of a warrant officer in the Marine Corps. He becomes obsessive compulsive personality disorder, which is Yellow Deck, right? But that OCPD warrant officer touches the heart of his soldier, and he becomes the first Blue Deck, Anxiety Deck, or PTSD. That soldier, his ability or his power because of the, serum, basically he has super speed. He's a speedster and he's super smart. So super speed, super smart. He's a gunslinger, he shoots, he's a hunter. And their job, the Blue Deck Army, is to suppress the Red Deck and basically kick them out of the village. And that's chapter 2. Now, chapter 3 is about the Green Decks. And basically, the Blue Decks already ran the Red Decks out, or at least ran them into hiding. But now we have a bunch of Blue Decks who are, kind of like they don't really know what to do. They saw a lot of hardships when they were fighting the Red Decks. Some of them are, starting to become depressed. Some of them are starting to, commit suicide. It gets pretty bad. And the Sage is like, this is not what I wanted either. So, and Donald Trump is basically doing whatever the fuck he wants. And he's taking some of the Blue Decks and, starting new wars for no reason. So the Sage says, I need a way to control Donald Trump and his Blue Deck army, which was supposed to be the Sage's Blue Deck army. So what he decides to do is reach out to Antisocial from the first chapter for help. Now, him and Antisocial try to think of a way to control Donald Trump and the Blue Deck army. So Antisocial's like, I have this girl, her name is Mary Jane. She has dependent personality disorder, but with your serum, she might be what we need to control the king, Donald Trump. So basically, him and Antisocial decide to find this Mary Jane. He gives her the serum. She becomes the Yellow Deck dependent personality disorder. Mary Jane touches the heart of one of the soldiers that was just, upset, worried about the events of war, can't really get over it, having a little PTSD, a little anxiety. And she touches his heart. And she's like, hey, if you follow me, if you serve me, I will turn off all that pain, all those emotions, and make you happy. Not only that, I'll give you the ability to control other people. So, of course, the soldier says yes. She touches his heart. He becomes the first Green Deck, or she becomes the first Green Deck, and which is just basically vampires, right? They drain others. They could turn off their pain, their emotion. Super speed, but not as fast as Blue Deck. Sharp claws, etc. They can make themselves look like normal humans or in their vampiric form. So we have Dependent Queen with her Green Deck army. They go fight the Blue Decks and take over Donald Trump. And basically it becomes like a little mini civil war, green versus blue. And we never really find out who wins that battle. Or maybe we'll find out in the manga, the videos afterwards, see what my artist does with that information. So they fight, and then whoever wins, wins. And that's the end of chapter 3 or 4. I don't know where I'm at. Now, the final chapter, basically what's happening is that, the Green Decks fought the Blue Decks. No one really won, just more carnage, more suffering, more pain, etc. And Dr. Douglas is like, I need to start over, like Noah's Ark, washout. He doesn't want to kill everyone, but he needs to get rid of the Yellow Decks because they're creating more red, blue, and green decks. And it's creating more havoc. And this is never what he wanted. He just wanted to help stop the war. He didn't even want to be involved to begin with, but this is his responsibility. So he decides that he needs to take out all the Yellow Deck leaders. Antisocial, the Narcissistic King, which I didn't talk about, but that's Donald Trump, Narcissistic King, Yellow Deck. Antisocial, his brother, Yellow Deck. Dependent Queen, that created the Green Decks. And the Obsessive Compulsive Personality Disorder Warrant Officer, that created the Blue Decks. So Donald Trump, the Sage wants to destroy all these 4 Yellow Decks. Doesn't know how. He's walking down the street one day. He hears a woman being mugged and a man crying. So he runs down the street and he sees a woman in the corner. Her clothes are kind of ripped. Obviously someone just attacked her. And then he sees a man on top of another man beating the living crap out of him and crying. So the Sage quickly grabs the man, pulls him to the side, stops him from killing the other man and says, what the hell's going on? The attacker says that, oh no, this guy is the attacker. He was trying to hurt that woman. I was trying to defend him. And the guy is crying. He says, like, this world is so rotten. I don't know what the hell happened. One day everything was fine and now we have demons, we have werewolves and vampires and everything, and I just want to do my part. And Dr. Douglas is like, I can work with you. You've got what I need. So Dr. Douglas touches his heart and he creates the very first and he creates the Borderline Personality Disorder deck, the Yellow Deck, Borderline. And basically the Borderline, he's a vigilante. He becomes like a ninja for the most part. I guess not really a ninja because he's the Yellow Deck. Yellow Decks don't really have the qualities of the other color decks. So I guess you can call him kind of like a monk, just like a badass, right? So that personality disorder deck, that yellow one, Borderline, touches the heart of another vigilante that was trying to save other people, and that creates the first Depression deck. And Depressions are basically rogues, assassins, ninjas, and their job is to try to help those that cannot be helped, kind of like Batman. But at the same time, the Sage wants to use these black decks and the personality disorder to try to take out the yellow decks. And basically the whole lore series ends with the Sage taking Borderline and his black deck assassins, and he creates a meeting with the other yellow decks, a fake meeting. And in the middle of the meeting, the Sage says, hey, you guys need to stop creating more. And they refuse because of the power of the personality disorder. They think that they're better than others. So they said, no, fuck you. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And then basically the Sage snaps his finger and all the black decks appear in the room and they attack the yellow decks. And that's the end of the series. And it's going to continue afterwards with many, many years later with the descendants of the yellow and all the other decks trying to work together. Some X-Men type shit. Anyway, that's the whole series. I hope you enjoyed it. Dougie here, signing out. Peace.